So we have been working with complementary color pairs to create a color wheel of flesh tone families. So yesterday we worked to combine the colors to make different groupings of flesh color or skin tone families, making using those primary colors. So you can see out here I have the colors that I used to mix together to make each of these like color families. When we talk about creating an illustration using skin or skin tone, we have to consider that there is nothing about the human body that is flat. So even if I put my fingers down here on the page, there's light coming in the window. So this side is lighter. It gradually gets darker to this side. Lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker. Even on the surface of my hand. So this is a lighter color than this, for instance. So you can create the illusion of three-dimensional form on the surface of an object in a painting, and that gives your viewer the idea that things are three-dimensional instead of flat. So we're going to practice that today using this sphere as reference and thinking about how light hits objects. And we're going to paint. We're going to learn how to shade in watercolor to create these effects. Okay. So I'm going to use this kind of off to the side as a reference. It will be out of the screen, but it is still here so that you can see that. The other thing is when I painted that skin tone color wheel, there are some hits and misses that happen, and you have to kind of work your way through if the color looks like a skin color on the paper, because it can be hard to tell in the palette. And so I'm using that page today in my mixed media tablet, the page that I did my practices on yesterday. We are going to be creating three spheres, and they should be, I would say, we want them to be roughly 2-ish inches across. So you can see I'm just going to kind of rough in a circle. If you have a compass or some such thing at your house, you could make nice perfect circles, but roughly circular is going to work for us as well. So I'm going to go ahead and make 3. And I will walk you through the process for 1, but I want you to go ahead and work with 3 different color families from the skin tone so that you get the experience mixing, matching, and creating the three-dimensional effect, not just in one skin tone, but in multiple skin tones. The thing you can see here, I have a cast shadow. So if we look to my reference photo of the sphere, we are replicating this idea that our light is coming from this direction and is hitting the sphere. Notice that all of the shadows on the sphere are curved and they match kind of the circular nature of the sphere itself. So it's important for us, you do not have to draw that on your paper. It is just important for you to kind of keep that idea in mind as we're painting. I don't want to paint actually over that one that I just drew all over, so I'm going to make another sphere here. And now I'm kind of ready to go. So this is going to be a new technique in watercolor. And actually I'm going to just leave this here so you can see it as I paint. I'm going to get my palette ready. I think I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to reuse one of the piles that's here in my palette. So yesterday when I mixed up color, I just kind of left them behind. And I'm gonna just go ahead and kind of reuse this and just adjust as needed. So this is a red and green combination, and it's tipping more towards the red right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a little green. I want to work with like a deeper skin tone. So I'm gonna take some licks off the top of my color pile here and mix them together. I do want a fairly good sized pile of paint. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For this, just so I don't run out and have to stop and mix color while I'm working. All right, there we go. That is a pretty good pile of paint. It's nice and deeply pigmented, which is what I want. So you can see how when I take licks off the pile of paint, I take quite a lot of lick off the top of the paint surface to get this nice, thickly pigmented pool of paint to work from. Now, here is what we're gonna do. This is going to be my shadow color, which is why I wanted it so nice and deep. And I'm going to start with that. Thinking of this idea, right? And looking at my reference sphere, that my shadow is going to be here. What I'm going to do now, so this is the shadowed portion of my flesh tone sphere. What I'm going to do now is I have a paper towel and I'm going to take my paintbrush, I'm going to clean it off in my water, and I'm gonna mostly squeeze it dry. And now what I'm gonna do is try to work up some of the half tones. So I had just enough moisture left in my brush to sort of activate this front edge of the sphere. And right away I can already see that I'm pulling too much paint. So I'm cleaning my paintbrush up again. I'm gonna squeeze it mostly dry. And I'm teasing this paint up onto the paper with no additional paint. I have no paint on my paintbrush at this point. I just simply have, and I just cleaned my paintbrush off again, because you can see as I'm going now, this is getting lighter. So I'm looking at that sphere while I paint and trying to replicate. Cleaned my paintbrush off again. And every time I clean my paintbrush off, I'm drying it on this paper towel that I like never set down, actually. So here's this middle. It's gonna be the lightest portion of my illustration. So I'm gonna keep cleaning my paintbrush off. And this is how we make flesh tone spheres. Now I can mix up a darker color down here at the bottom by taking some of my paint and just adding a bit of blue. Okay, so adding blue, and what adding blue does, you'll see, is it cools off that brown, and it makes it, because it looks cooler, blue is a cool color, it will give me a shadow color. So, and that is also how you make black. So as we think ahead to making an illustration of a person's face, for instance, I would need a dark neutral for in the eye, for eyelashes, for eyebrows, potentially for hair, and all of that sort of thing. And so all I did was take this color brown that I made using red and green and added a little bit of blue to it. And then I ended up with this beautiful gray. You're gonna go ahead and do 3 of these, each using a different color combination. So this one here for me was green with red. and I added blue to get the shadow color, okay? I am then going to go ahead and do some of the other color combinations so that I have a variety of different skin tones represented here in my work today.